All right, everybody, it is 10 a.m. Central, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kylie Brown. I'm from XBM, a Valiantis company, and I'll be keeping us on track today. So what we have for you is woven through our time together 4 chocolate tastings throughout this event. And to ensure that we get to all of them, I'll be watching the schedule on everyone's behalf. And I wanted to take a moment and point you to inside of your chocolate box, you should have a little golden ticket that walks you through how to enter to win our grand prize for the day. So make sure you check that out. If you've already entered, fantastic. Thank you so much for posting a picture of your chocolates on LinkedIn. If you haven't, just look at the back of that golden ticket. It walks you through what to do. Just post a picture of your chocolates with that hashtag JSM golden ticket because you technically still have time. And I'll put a link in the chat as well so you can see an example of what we're looking for. So anyways, with that, I'm going to pass it over to Wade and Owen, who are going to get us started. Thanks, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to XBM's Golden Ticket for Service Management event, where we'll be imagining Willy Wonka's Jira service management implementation and sampling some amazing treats from our chocolatier who's on site with us today. I'm Wade Cornett, and I am a solutions architect and ITIL specialist here at XBM, and I'm joined by Owen Pyatt, but I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Owen Pyatt, and I'm also a solutions architect here at XBM. We want to take a quick moment to say hi to those of you that we met at the Pink event. We're so glad that you guys could make it today. We're hoping you're looking forward to enjoying a second box of the amazing Bijou chocolate. Speaking of chocolate, we are delighted to be joined by Maggie Mobley, owner and chocolatier at Bijou here in St. Louis. Finally, our goal today is to introduce XBM, a Valiantis company and Platinum Atlassian Solutions partner. But first, chocolate.
All right, everyone, I have the honor of sitting in today with Miss Maggie here. So it's so nice to have you with us from Bijou Chocolates. Maggie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi. So my name is Maggie. Like they've said, I own Bijou Chocolates, which is a local chocolate shop here in St. Louis. We specialize in hand-painted bonbons and truffles. So your box of 4 is going to be 4 of those bonbons and truffles. Obviously, 2 of them are specially themed for this event. So those are not things that we keep all the time. The other 2 are part of our regular year-round flavor selections. So we do have those in the shop all the time, all year round. Other than that, we normally have anywhere from 20 to 24 flavors on hand, and the whole case is kind of open and available, so you can kind of pick and choose whatever you like.
Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and drop a poll in the chat to show you what the chocolates are that we're going to be tasting today, and then let us know which one you're the most looking forward to, and it should be popping up here in just a moment. And then I'm going to go ahead and open my box. And would you walk us through which one you want us to try first?
Okay.
All righty here. You have one as well if you want.
I do, but I think I'm okay. Thank you.
All righty. Okay, so we have our beautiful box. Which one do you want us to get into?
Let's go ahead and start with the blood orange.
Okay.
So that's the hexagonal red and orange one. Yep.
All right. This beautiful blood orange. It looks like a lot of us were wanting the blood orange.
Yeah.
First. So cool. We're starting off with that guy.
So that one's going to be a 66% dark chocolate caramel made with a blood orange and also a little spike of Grand Marnier to get you going at 10 a.m.
Oh, yeah. Good pick to start off with. I taste that.
Yeah.
I get the Grand Marnier.
Yeah, a little
orangey.
orangey.
It's so tart. That's just what inspired this one.
I don't like orange and chocolate, but it's a really true pairing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a really common classic pairing. And so if I can try and find something that I know is generally well popular and generally like thought of as a good pairing, but it's not something I like, I try and tweak it a little bit to see if it's something I do like. I do like Grand Marnier. I think it kind of adds that little sweetness to it, and it kind of adds a little, I think it's the like cognac-y zing.
Yeah.
So I like those 2 things. And then of those, I prefer blood oranges because I think they're a little sweeter,
okay.
a little less aggressively acidic than like a normal orange would be. So I kind of prefer the flavor profile of that, which is kind of why I went that route.
Oh, that was, and it was so full of filling, like your shell is just open. How does that happen?
I have a very special machine that helps me keep everything in check for that. But otherwise, other than that, I mean, I've been making chocolate shells for about 10 years now, so maybe a little bit of habit.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your wonderful world of chocolate, specifically your name. How did you come up with Bijou?
Yeah. When I was, oh man, 5 years ago, I was trying to put together the LLC, and I was thinking of different kinds of names. And funny enough, every possible thing you can think of that has to do with chocolate in any way, shape, or form already exists as a chocolate shop somewhere in the world. A lot of them in the States. And so I was really struggling. I was trying to find things that were St. Louis based. I was trying to find things that were like weird variations on like moving around the spelling of my name, like something. And then a friend of mine was sitting at the kitchen counter and was just asking me, when you've worked at places before, because I had worked at a shop in Chicago that did something really similar, and I'd worked in another really small shop that no longer exists here in St. Louis. And she was like, well, what do people say? What do people comment on? Can you pull from that? And I was like, well, when they're real shiny like that, I have a lot of people who will comment like, oh, do these look like marbles, or these look like jewels, or something like that. So bijou is actually French for jewel.
That's
jewels
very
or jewelry.
fitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the counter when you walk in, it does look like a jewelry
counter. So that was
her
kind
shop.
of, and that's kind of how I themed the boxes too. I kind of wanted the packaging to look like a jewelry box. And so I went to a French pastry school. St. Louis kind of has a lot of French origin cities, street names, things. And so kind of veering towards the French language just sort of felt right, even though it is hard to pronounce.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Did you always know you wanted to be a chocolatier? You said you went to school.
No, I wanted to be a wedding cake decorator.
Okay.
I like the aesthetics of it. So I went to pastry school kind of thinking I would do more baking and aesthetics, sort of decorating cakes, those kinds of things. I didn't know anything about chocolate. I honestly don't really enjoy eating chocolate. Like it's like lower on my list of favorite desserts. And so I never really thought anything of it. But I actually ended up working at a place almost immediately in Chicago, and that's what they specialized in. They were one of the first ones to respond when I reached out about needing a job, and the program requires you to have experience. And so, well, not even with chocolate, they just, part of graduation is making sure you get to what they call stages under the way, which is essentially like an internship. And so they have this big list of all the companies that have ever worked and partnered with them. And so you can kind of pick and choose, and most of them are in Chicago, but they've got them all over the world because there's, this big this big community of people. And so I reached out to probably half a dozen right when I got there, because I just wanted to get this out of the way. And they were one of the first ones who came and responded. And so I went, and it was the first time I had ever seen sort of colorful, shiny chocolates like this before. And they never asked me to stop coming, and I never asked them when they needed me to stop. And so I just kept showing up week after week. And then eventually they're like, do you want a job? So I ended up working there for the whole time I was at school. So it was about 6 months. And it got to a point where, everything I did in school was very cool and very interesting. But what you do in school is so different than what you do in the real world. And so every time I left school and then I went to this job, and I was like, oh, okay, well, if this is what the job is like, and I actually really enjoy this, as much as I like doing things in school, they're much more, it's a group it's a group idea, because there were maybe 16 of us in the class. And so you have all these kids together where, this table will scale butter for everyone and that table will scale sugar. And so then you do 1% of the work when it comes to certain things, and then you dump all the ingredients, and then you make something, and then you're making something new every day. And it's just not like that in the real world. You're usually stuck to a production schedule. It's like the same recipes over and over again. It can be very monotonous. And so going here and the artistry of painting the bonbons and learning the different flavors and things was so much more interesting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what led me into that.
So you got like the wedding cake design aesthetic into these.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the perfect
forms.
amalgamation of like art and chemistry that I was like, yep.
Cool. Awesome. So, well, thank you, Maggie.
Sure.
That was incredible.
Sure.
I'm looking forward to the next ones. They're always so shiny. I don't know if you guys are like staring at these chocolates like I am, but the shine on them is gorgeous too. So we have 3 more awesome ones up next. So as a reminder, we'll be giving away that grand prize that I talked about at the top of the call. We'll announce that winner after the last tasting. Part of our prize is a 16-piece box of Bijou chocolates that will be shipped to the winner. So you'll get even more of these amazing chocolates from Maggie. And we're going to go ahead and head over to Owen, who is going to show us a demo of service request management in JSM. Owen, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you again to Bijou. That was delicious. I've learned that if you want to guarantee attendance at a meeting, offer chocolate. As Kylie said, my name is Owen Pyatt. While I work across many different products, my favorite thing to do here is help a wide range of clients configure and implement service management tools. Let's take a moment to drop a poll in. I'm curious who's a seasoned pro, who's new to Atlassian products, and who's here for the chocolate. Kylie, go ahead and get that poll dropped in. Awesome. So no matter your background with Atlassian tools, you'll be able to grasp what Wade and I are showing you today with Jira Service Management. It's ideal for organizations or teams that want to create a customer-focused portal or service offering, as well as implement an incident, problem, or change management process. Imagine this is Willy Wonka's factory help center. This is where, for example, Oompa Loompas need to ask Willy Wonka for items that they need to do their work and ensure that customers get the best quality chocolate possible. For example, if I was an Oompa Loompa at Willy Wonka's factory and needed a new uniform because I got chocolate on it, I could use a tool like Jira Service Management to help me make that uniform request. We are going to show you a demo site where work requests that are inspired by the wonderful world of Willy Wonka. Let's take a look now. So for our first example, we're going to be showing you a demo of service request management. Imagine I am an Oompa Loompa and I have spent my entire morning rescuing a child who cannot follow instructions and got sucked up into our chocolate river plumbing system. Now my pearly white overalls are covered in grade AA+ chocolate, which we all know does not come out. I need to hurry and request a new pair before Willy catches me. The first thing I'll do is head over to our help center, where we'll be presented with our 3 individual portal offerings, as well as our smart search bar here at the top of the screen, where we're able to search for help-related articles in our knowledge base to see if there's anything, any articles in our database that can help us, that can help our requesters and maybe save them time so that they don't have to actually submit a request. So we'll just put chocolate on uniform. And we see here we're presented with just one article as well as our actual request types. But first, we're going to go ahead and follow our link here to our knowledge base article, where at the very top, as I said before, we all know grade AA+ chocolate does not come out. So we know that we will need to raise a request. And then here at the bottom of the screen, we'll see a little field here. Did this article help? And in our instance, we'd say yes, even though we know that we are going to need to raise a request. And just below that, we see an option to, if you do need to raise a request, go ahead and contact us. This will take you through the hierarchy of the help center. So this is what we call portal groups, just one more way to kind of break down your service requests. And then within the portal groups, we have our appropriate request types. So here at the top, we see request in a uniform. I'll go ahead and select that. And then here we see our users or requesters will be prompted with a form-based experience. There's a lot of customization here using what was once pro forma, now is just fully built into Jira Service Management. A lot of dynamic capabilities, conditional formatting, and other things like that. So here at the top, we see we can make sure that we've selected the correct request type. And then this first option, raise this request on behalf of. This is a system field. This appears on every request type. And in our instance, we're actually going to select another user, myself, because we are logged in as Wade.
Hey, real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
Kylie just wants us to zoom in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Awesome. So just below that, we see our summary field. Well, I'll go ahead and grab our summary here. New uniform because it was covered in chocolate from rescuing Augustus Gloop for being stuck in the chocolate pipe. And then once again, we're prompted with our knowledge base articles. And then just below that, we have our description, where we're able to add just a more detailed description about the issue at hand. And then just below that, we have what looks to be a normal field, but what's unique about this is it's actually attached to our asset management database known as assets. So we're actually selecting assets that are logged in our asset management database and we'll touch on that more on the back end. And then we have this field where we're able to drag and drop files, pay screenshots, or browse maybe to add to the clarity of the situation. So we'll go ahead and submit our form. And then now we see our form has been submitted. Here at the top, we see our summary. And then in this first quadrant, we see the form. So we see that I myself raised this request. We see our description. We see which piece of uniform we're requesting. We see that it grabbed our pearly white overalls, small. And then just below that, we see our activity. And then below that, we're able to actually communicate with the agent on the back end. So we'll ask maybe slip weight a $5 bill so Willy doesn't get me in trouble. And then we're actually able to track this issue throughout its life cycle. So here we see the true status reflecting what stage of the workflow the issue is in. And then we're actually going to hold off and approve this ticket till we're on the back end, because this most of the time won't appear. We're logged in as Wade, and I'll get into that when we're on the back end. But we will be able to approve or decline this request. We're able to control our notifications, and we're also able to cancel the request. Once again, here we see our request type, and then another field down here, you're able to share this ticket with anybody, and you can also share with non-Jira users. And we'll go ahead and add him, and then we see that our ticket's waiting for approval. And now we're going to head to the back end of Jira and kind of see what it's like for our agents to actually work this ticket. So here at the top, we see our issue ID, we see the summary, and then just below that, we also see our form once again appear in this first quadrant. We see that it's grabbed our pearly white overalls from our asset management database. And then we see our activity, where you're able to see all the history on the ticket, the work log, whether or not you have your agents log their work. We see the approval history. And what's a little bit unique about the backend for the agents is not only are you able to reply directly to the customer, you're also able to add an internal note that just appears to the other agents on it. I don't know. And what's great about these comments is it will appear to the user not only on the ticket like we just saw, but also via email. And the requester can actually respond to the email, and it'll get added to the ticket as a comment. So now moving to this right sidebar, we see the ability to transition the issue. We're actually going to wait to do that until we approve, because we'll see automation for Jira kind of run in the background. And once that ticket is approved, we have automation running to automatically transition that issue to waiting for support. And just below that, we see our SLAs, our service level agreements. These are fully customizable. These are just the two that come out of the box, but you can add more. You can change the time. You can do a lot with SLAs there. And then just below that, we see our details fields, just kind of adding more detail to the ticket. Once again, we see our two related articles in case maybe your agent needs a little help solving the request as well. And then we see our request type, our priority. This is a customizable field there. And then we see we're able to assign the issue to an agent. We see the reporter. That's the one who actually created the ticket. We see the urgency. That'll come into play a little bit later. And then we see our impact. Once again, will come into play later. And then we see that this is where I added Wade as a shared with when we submitted our tickets. We see him here as a request participant. We also see Wade as our approver. And then this is a cool field. Also, if you're needing to do some auditing or just making sure your automations are running correctly, you can come here and select rule executions. And you can actually see which automations have been running for just that ticket and whether or not the ticket ran correctly. Let me go ahead and take a look at my notes here. Yeah, one of the main things I just want to point out here and just kind of reiterate is that this service request has actually reached into our asset management database. named Assets, which is fully included with JSM Premium and is a full asset management database and CMDB, but it is so much more than that as well. By using asset object fields on our submission form, we were able to only specify the specific uniforms that we have in stock. And then because our users and their equipment are also built out in our asset management database, this request went directly to my managing Oompa, Wade, who was selected for approval. Using JSM in conjunction with Jira software, automation for Jira, and assets, you can manage just about every step of this service request management lifecycle. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to request another piece of chocolate. How about you, Wade? Kylie, can you approve this for us?
Oh, thanks, Owen. I think that based on what that managing Oompa said, he approved it. So we can certainly fulfill that request. Thank you so much for that awesome demo. When we come back to Wade and Owen, we're going to hear about another part of the factory from Wade. So before we get to our second chocolate tasting, let's talk about that grand prize one more time. As a reminder, to be entered to win, you share a picture of your beautiful box of chocolates on LinkedIn with that hashtag JSM Golden Ticket. And we talked about the 16-piece box of Bijou chocolate that you win, but we're also throwing in a prize from one of our partners located in Paso Robles, California. And can you guess what it could be? If you were thinking wine, you would be absolutely correct, because we are going to throw in a Californian Bordeaux blend that retails at over $60. And this is an XBM special edition bottle as well. So I believe that wine would pair very nicely with some Bijou chocolates. And if it's possible, I'd like to enter to win this, just stating that for the record. Anyway, so go ahead and enter on LinkedIn, and we'll talk about the final part of our grand prize after our last tasting. All right, Maggie, what do we have next?
Okay, so let's do the ginger lemongrass. So that's going to be the square bonbon with the Valiantes.
Oh, yes,
logo.
Our Valiantes logo. Okay, and this was lemongrass and ginger?
Yes, so it's 2 layers. You've got a white chocolate lemongrass layer, and then you've got a dark chocolate ginger layer.
Oh, wow. That's
so
beautiful.
It's going to be a little bit tart from the lemongrass. You get that kind of lemony citrus, and then that ginger kind of gives you this sort of warm spice bite a little bit. It's a 72% dark chocolate from Venezuela, which on its own kind of has good sort of earthy, woody notes, which kind of help with the ginger.
Yeah, it's almost like meringue, like I was getting like a meringue kind of vibe.
I could see that. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. How do you come up with these awesome flavors?
It depends. A lot of times if I go out to eat or I'm ever in a restaurant or somewhere and I see something really interesting, whether it's a dessert or cocktail or just anything on the menu that looks interesting, I have a really big list on my phone just of everything I've ever found where I've had a good cocktail or I've had ate something that was really interesting, if it was a dessert or a savory dish, of all these different types of pairings. And then sometimes it also has to do with if I'm looking online to get all of the purees for like the blood orange puree, or like we always have a raspberry, things like that. Every now and then it'll pop up and say they've got something new to try. And lemongrass was one of the new ones.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, I'm going to get that. And then it sat in my freezer for like a month where I was like, what am I going to do with this? And so we were kind of spitballing all these different sort of Asian inspired combinations of like, do we do something with like lemongrass Thai basil or like all these different options. And then I ended up doing a dark and stormy bonbon for Valentine's Day that required ginger because a dark and stormy is ginger beer, rum, and lime, I believe. And so it was really similar to that because it was a white chocolate lime layer with that ginger, rum, dark chocolate. And so from that, I was like, oh, you know what? I'll bet I could like rework that into this. And so it's technically inspired from a dark and stormy.
I've never had a chocolate like that. And that was absolutely wonderful. I loved it.
Well, sometimes I like to get a little weird with them.
What's been the one that you found the most interesting?
Actually, the fig and goat cheese is probably one of the ones that started as an experiment. I thought it'd be too weird for people, and at this point, we're going to keep it year round because it's so popular.
Yeah. Oh, good. All right, everybody, we're in for a treat. That one's coming up next. How do you design the chocolates? So we had the square one, and then earlier we had that hexagon.
Yeah. So all of the ones that are not square are based off of a polycarbonate mold. So the mold itself has these shapes in them, and we'll polish that mold and then we paint it first, and then we'll put the chocolate in, versus the square ones are a big slab of ganache that get cut into a square, and then they get run through what's called an enrober, which is essentially a conveyor belt with a chocolate waterfall on it. So they run underneath the chocolate waterfall and they get coated in chocolate. And then specifically for these, once they leave the belt that has the chocolate waterfall on it and they get to the last stage and they're still kind of wet, we'll put what's called a transfer sheet on them. It's a thin piece of acetate plastic that has screen printed cocoa butter images on one side. So then you put it on top of the wet chocolate and let it dry, and then you peel that acetate off, and what was on the acetate has now transferred onto chocolate. So all of these logos were screen printed, which is why they look exactly like your logo, because I am not that talented. I could not have hand painted all of those. So anything really, really detailed like that, we'll just get it screen printed, and then it gets put on the chocolate after the fact. But because of the way that the screen printing works, those chocolates are always square. They have to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Talk to us about your locations, because we are lucky here at XBM that one of your locations is right
just
across the street. From us.
Yeah, so that was the first one I opened. So it's really, really small. And that was kind of where I'd like to say we opened in 2020. I was like, I'll take a gamble. I didn't know, 2020 was going to happen. I rented the space in 2019, and it just took us that long to renovate it, and there were all these delays, and so whatever, we opened it, and then it was kind of like pushing a boulder off a hill where it just like kept going and going and going, and that's why we opened the second space in Webster Groves, just because I needed a significantly bigger kitchen to kind of keep up with demand and prepare for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're so delighted for you.
Thank you.
Love the store across the street, but it's just awesome to hear that there are just more and more locations happening and more ways in which for shipping and all of that.
Yeah,
so.
Getting better.
Well, thanks again, Maggie.
Sure.
And up next, we have Wade, who is going to talk to us about another area of Jira Service Management, which is incident management. Incident management is a process used by DevOps and IT operation teams to respond to unplanned events or service interruptions and restore the service to its operational state. Wade, take it away.
Thanks, Kylie. But first off, just a little bit of background and some secret information. Somebody made the mistake of storing 250 boxes of these chocolates in my Las Vegas hotel room. So Maggie, I have quite the review for you on these. But all right, before I dive into the demo, I just want to highlight some of the features you'll get out of the box with any tier of Jira Service Management when you enable the incident management feature set. The first is OpsGenie, which is an alerting tool that you can connect to your monitoring tools. OpsGenie can be configured to automatically create tickets in Jira Service Management whenever a service that you are monitoring goes down. Through the use of OpsGenie, you will be able to create on-call schedules, routing rules, escalation policies to route alerts to the appropriate Oompa Loompa responding teams. You will also get the ability to create a conference bridge that is joinable from your open incident tickets for your responding teams and key business stakeholders to swarm around the incident and hopefully get it resolved as soon as possible. The great news is that you don't have to have Jira Service Management Premium to get these features. There are many more features that come with incident management, but I just wanted to highlight some of the big ones. Now let's put our green wigs back on and take a look at that demo. Imagine I'm an Oompa Loompa and I am experiencing an outage to a service that I depend on, and in this case, I am the chocolate riverboat captain, and the chocolate river has stopped flowing. I don't know that it's because Augustus Gloop got sucked up into the piping. I just know that I can't sail my riverboat anymore, so I need to go to the help center and submit an incident. So coming back over here to our help center, we can see the search bar that we saw before, as well as the list of portals. I could search for any incidents that, an outage that I might be experiencing, or I can just dive directly into the portal. And under common requests, we have the report a system problem. So here we are with that form-based experience again, and I can provide a brief description summarizing the problem, such as chocolate river not flowing. And I can also describe in more details of what happened and how it occurred, but I don't know the answer to that, so I'm not sure. But what's really important here is the affected services field. This field lists all of the services that we are actually monitoring and maintaining. So we have the chocolate river, our chocolate television set, and our chocolate waterfall. And in this case, the service that I'm experiencing a problem with is the chocolate river. As you saw before, we also have the ability to add an attachment, but we can choose how urgently this needs to be fixed. And I'm going to say high, and how big of an impact to the problem this is to your organization. And it is definitely significant and large. So I'm going to go ahead and send that request. Again, here is that submitted form that the customers can see and communicate directly to the agent, as well as share the ticket with any stakeholders or anybody that could also potentially be experiencing this outage, to hopefully limit the amount of tickets that are submitted for this service. But what I really want to show you around incident management is actually here on the backside. So looking at the agent view now, we have our submitted form fields, but what might look a little bit different is the affected services field. We can see that our chocolate river that was selected here has some more options. If we tab down, we can see that there are actually 4 ongoing open incidents on this given affected service. Maybe these are all coming in today, or maybe this is a past incident that still has not been resolved. We could see a description of the service, as well as the tier of service that it relates to. These services are built out in our asset management database. However, you do not have to have Jira Service Management Premium like you would to get the asset database to get the services. Services are included on any tier of Jira Service Management. Scrolling down the list, the idea around incident management is to quickly identify a potential cause of the outage. And so what's listed out here is changes on affected services. So if you were doing change management within Jira Service Management, which we are going to be showing you next, you would see all of your recent changes that have been made to the affected river, to the chocolate river service that may have caused the outage, and you could flag that change as a potential cause. Additionally, with that is one of the newest features to incident management, and that is the investigate button. What this investigate button does is if you have a Bitbucket or any other CI/CD tool linked to Jira Service Management or Jira, you will be able to run back in time on the timeline and review successful deployments, failed deployments from your code repository, flag those as potential causes, as well as dive directly into Bitbucket and review those incidents, make a code change if you find the error there, and deploy it straight out to production. So this investigate feature is really, really nice. Coming back down to the bottom here, on the last demo that Owen did for us, you saw that you had 2 common options: add an internal comment or reply to the customer. But using the incident management feature set, you're going to get a 3rd common option, and that is going to be inform stakeholders. So on a service, when you actually build it out, you can identify a set of stakeholders that might be interested in monitoring this given service, and you can notify those key stakeholders specifically what the status of the incident is and what other information you might want to convey. Coming over here to the right-hand side, another feature of incident management is going to be this major incident toggle. What this does is for major incidents, it adds this new flag up here to the top and automatically routes the incident to a new queue that titled major incidents that can notify a different responding team that is equipped to handle what we deem as major incidents. There's also the appropriate responding teams. So over in OpsGenie, we have a responding team named the Oompa Loompa Incident Response Team, and they have been notified and are on this ticket and doing some investigation. Some of those other features are going to be the ability to automatically create a chat channel directly around this incident in Slack, as well as Microsoft Teams. You can also create a conference bridge in Microsoft Teams or Zoom that will persist for the life of this ticket. It acts very similar to the conference bridge within Opsgenie. So that leads me to my last one here, which is the conference call. So regardless of whatever meeting tools that your organization might use, because of the integration with Opsgenie and what you get out of the box, you will actually be able to establish a conference call over an Opsgenie that anybody can join for the length of this ticket. It will also record all transcriptions, people that were added, everything that was said around this incident, and you can add that to your post-incident review once the incident is resolved. So it's blocking my video because we're obviously on camera, but we could join this session and communicate and swarm around this open incident using Opsgenie's conference bridge. So what I want to do now is actually jump over to Opsgenie. Like I said, Opsgenie is included on all tiers of Jira Service Management, and it is an alerting tool that sits between Jira Service Management and your monitoring tools. So when a service that you are monitoring goes down, it can automatically create a ticket within Jira or an alert within Opsgenie. So here's the incident that was created. We can see that the appropriate responding teams have been notified, the total elapsed time of the incident, the owner team, and just some other relevant information. We can also see an entire activity log on the given incident, or the alert, I'm sorry, as well as the responder state, so we can see that I've actually seen this this incident, and I'm going to go ahead and actually act this alert and assign it to myself. You do not have to manage your incidents over in Opsgenie. This is now being more and more integrated into Jira Service Management, but I do just want to call it out. So the main feature of Opsgenie is going to be centered around teams. So here we have the Oompa Loompa incident response team built out, where we can create our routing rules, our escalation policies, and our on-call schedules. This is all completely customizable, and you can set how you want your responding teams to be notified. And then the heart of Opsgenie really is its integrations. So Opsgenie will integrate with just about any tools that you are using. Obviously, there's native integrations with all the other Atlassian products. And I'm just going to kind of scroll through this list for some services that maybe you guys are familiar with that you might want to monitor. We have all the big players: AWS, Azure, Datadog, GitLab, Nagios, SolarWinds, Splunk. They're all here. So Opsgenie can connect to any of your monitoring tools and automatically create alerts whenever a service that you're monitoring goes down. So just know those are there, and this is completely included with any tier of Jira Service Management. Coming back to the ticket, we have our major incident, and let's say we've identified that this is a bug in the software and we need to notify a development team to actually resolve this. Because I have Jira Service Management and Jira software on the same instance, I can actually create a linked issue in my Jira software project. So in this case, I'm going to create it in my development team's backlog. And we can just leave the summary, or we could set one, as well as whatever relevant information we needed to. But I'm going to go ahead and create this alert, or I'm sorry, create this ticket. So now we have a linked issue that the chocolate river is not flowing. I should have selected that it was a bug, but we can see the two tickets are linked together, and the development teams can do whatever work they need to do, deploy the code fix, and get the service back up and running. Using automation for Jira, we can create a lot of efficiencies, such as copying comments back and forth from the development team to the requester that actually submitted the ticket for better visibility. as well as whenever the developer is done with their work and they transition the bug issue to done, automation for Jira can actually run and automatically mark the major incident as completed, resolving the ticket as soon as the developers are done, if that is something that you guys are interested in. All right, so a lot of efficiency gains having your incident management system and process integrated with Jira Service Management and Jira software. So that's JSM, automation for Jira, and OpsGenie used to manage incidents. Kylie, I'll pass it back to you, but there's going to be a major incident if I don't get another piece of chocolate soon.
Well, we don't want that, so don't worry. We're gonna get to our next chocolate, which is gonna be the fig and goat cheese.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I did want to send everyone in chat this beautiful video from Bijou's website. It's just gonna make you want to go and order more chocolates. But it's in the chat, linked to her website in general. So if there are chocolates you want to order, you can order right from there. But that video just very much describes how she makes all her beautiful chocolates. And just very, very well done. Okay, so before we taste our chocolate, we're going to talk about that final element of our grand prize. And so we have our 16-piece box of chocolates for our grand prize winner, our bottle of wine, and then the last thing is a ticket to our next Jira Service Management Bootcamp. So I'm going to drop a link to that in the chat as well. And the retail value of this class is $600. So to recap again, you'll get a ticket to this Jira Service Management Bootcamp, 16 scrumdiddlyumptious pieces of Bijou chocolate, and a special edition of XBM wine. And you are going to be so lucky if you get this because Wade and Owen are the instructors for that class. You'll get to see them as well. So we are going to move on to our final chocolate. But before I do, I have a final poll here. And we've had a couple of chocolates already under our belt. And we have our two that had our Valiantis logo and our XPM logo. And we kind of need some help figuring out what to name these. So if we use these in the future, we want to have a name tied to our logo. So I'm going to stick a poll in the chat. So you'll see it real quick. Help us decide which of these names we should have our Valiantis chocolate and our XBM dongle chocolate that we'll try later on in a moment. So you'll see that poll there. And while everybody votes, we're going to move on to our next chocolate.
All right. So like I kind of had said, this was a weird experiment that I thought would be too weird. We keep about 16 chocolates on hand throughout the year. And a lot of them are dark chocolate, milk chocolate, salted caramel, sort of very approachable, very normal, middle of the ground, middle of the road flavors. And so whenever I'm looking at the seasonal flavors, the extra ones that we do, I always want to push the envelope a little bit and sort of like see what I can make people try and see if I can experiment and find something that people would think, ooh, weird, and then try it and be like, oh, interesting or something. So this to me is summer cheese board.
Okay.
Spring cheese board. So you get that kind of honeyed sweet fig. You get that goat cheese white chocolate, which is kind of a little bit of a tang. It's not aggressively sweet because of the tanginess, but it's also not like eating a full chunk of goat cheese. So you get kind of the undertone of it. So it's a summer cheese board to me. So probably very good with the white wine. Also probably good with that Bordeaux.
Yeah, that fig is fantastic. I really, really like that. Very creamy. And I like the colors too. That's blue. You change the colors ever, or those always
it depends. So seasonal ones are kind of subject to change, but yeah, so every box has this little card on it. Those are 12 of the year-round flavors. They're also available online. We'll be updating it probably in the next 6 months or so with some flavors I've tweaked a little bit, some colors I've tweaked a little bit. For the most part, they look exactly like that. A lot of times if you come into the store and you see the chocolate case, I like to put it in rainbow order.
Oh, okay.
So it starts with the tiramisu, which just has like our diamond logo on it. And then it goes to a black and white cookies and cream bonbon. And then it's, red through violet. And so if I'm looking at the case to make a new flavor and I realize like, man, there's like 5 of them that are red and only 1 is orange, and then there's like 2 yellows or something, and I can tell there's a gap somewhere in the color spectrum, that there's either too heavily on one side or too heavy on, you know, the other, or there's just nothing of one whatsoever, is usually where I'll pull. So sometimes it makes sense, like lemon is yellow, raspberry's red, blood orange is kind of orangey red. And then sometimes it makes no sense whatsoever because I just knew I needed a green in the case, and that's why salted caramel is green.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of thought into it. Like I said, sometimes it's based on what it looks like, and sometimes it's really just an aesthetic thing for what I think will make boxes pop if people are going to pick their own chocolates out, and what I think will make the case pop and be the most kind of eye-catching selection of chocolates. Yeah.
So I haven't been to your new location yet. Is it the same vibe? Like you still
it
have
is
that
quite
big
similar.
case
Yes,
at the
it's
front?
way bigger though. So
Okay.
the case I have at the old store is probably about as big as this table. I think it's 4 feet by 2 feet, and the other case is like 10 feet.
Okay.
So it's much bigger. So the plates are a
More
lot bigger,
jewels.
and the entire space is black and white. So the only color in the entire space is the chocolates.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you. Well, I'm kind of a boring person, so in general, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, I totally get your theme," and I was like, "Yeah."
But
It's
also like
it's
black
not
and
just
white.
me liking black and white. Yeah, it's the chocolates, but also.
Okay. I think we've had time for everybody to vote. Owen, Wade, do you guys have any weigh-in before we look at the results of what chocolate name is going to win?
Personally, I like the Dongle Delight.
Okay. Owen?
I think I like the Tangram Truffle Tribute.
Okay. I like the Tangram Teacup Temptation just because I loved that scene in Willy Wonka where he's like sitting down and like
He
takes
eats
a
it.
drink and then he eats it. So that one's kind of mine. So, okay, we're going to end the poll here and we're going to share these results and we'll see who the winner is. I believe we have Expium-licious, a chocolate bar that's as whimsical and wonderful as Willy Wonka himself. So thank you everybody for voting. We will be trying to work in Expium-licious into our next chocolate event. So thank you. All right. So once again, Maggie, that was delicious. And we have one more coming up after we hear from Wade. So he's going to talk to us about change management and using Jira Service Management, automation for Jira, and Bitbucket. So change management is a collective term for all approaches to prepare, support, and help individuals, teams, and organizations in making organizational change. Wade, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thanks, Kylie. So I'm going to be showing you guys another feature set of Jira Service Management, and that is change management. I did switch demo sites for this, and that's because I have a Bitbucket pipeline connected to this one and not the fun Willy Wonka one. So I will just say, even Willy Wonka has real life use cases related to his payroll systems and his mobile phones. So we're going to talk about making changes to those here in a minute. But with change management, I just want to highlight some of those features again that you'll get out of the box just at a high level. You're going to get a built-in change calendar within Jira Service Management, an automated risk assessment calculator, advanced approval workflows, and again, integrations into your CI/CD pipelines. All right, so basically what I'm going to be showing you today is kind of 3 demos in one. I'm going to show you how to manually submit a change request using that change form that we're all used to, the long, implementation plan, backup plan, all of that. But then I'm going to go show you a process for automating change requests for standard changes, for changes that you've deemed standard and do not require approval through CAB or something like that. And then the last demo that I'm going to show you is for normal changes, changes to services that are, tier 1 and that do need to first go through CAB for approval. So I can come out here to my IT service desk and I can come down here under applications and I can submit a manual change form. I can fill out the summary, change to website. I can provide a description, and I can select my affected services again, such as the website, and I can list my change type, my impact, urgency, risk, reason, implementation plan. You guys have seen this a million times. So a lot of information. I am going to go ahead and just quickly fill out the planned start and planned end date quickly so I can show you guys the change calendar. Oh, this is a nice early morning change. And I'm going to go ahead and submit that. So again, once the ticket is submitted, you guys have seen this a couple times. It's gone directly to CAB for approval. I could approve it if I needed, but I'm going to jump back to the ticket and show you some of those features. What I'm first going to show you is, is the change calendar. So the change calendar is completely built into Jira Service Management. And we can see here that I set my change between 2:30 and 3:30 a.m. on Wednesday the 22nd. So this is listed on my change calendar. I can see there are 11 open incidents on my website and some other relative information like the duration, the change type that it is, you name it. But coming back to the ticket itself, one of the other features that I highlighted was the risk assessment calculator, and that's listed out down here. So right now, what the risk assessment calculator hopes to achieve is to give you as much information as quickly as possible to approve and assess this change and understand the risk involved. So it looks at the change calendar to make sure that there are no changes scheduled at that time, or there are no conflicts. Currently for this one, there aren't any. And it also looks at ongoing incidents on my affected service. So my affected service was the website. And we can see that there are 11 ongoing incidents and 24 past incidents. We can view those under this incidents tab and see that all of these incidents are still open and could really affect my ability as a member of CAB to approve this change. You know, it would be my recommendation that we first resolve the incident before we make the change. But maybe this is an emergency change. Who knows? So that's going to be submitting a manual change request. And I just wanted to point out some of those features. But where the fun really comes in is when we get into automating change requests. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over to my sample Scrum project, and I'm going to create a story. And in this case, I'm a Oompa Loompa developer, and I need to make a change to my payroll system, right? Because all of those Oompas want to get paid. So we'll just give this a summary of change to payroll service. Or actually, maybe we've branched out. Maybe we've branched out to the European markets. Bijou's gone global, and we need to start paying people in euros. So we'll say add euro to payroll service. Now I'm going to go ahead and create this ticket. Now that I have my my story, add euro to the payroll service in my backlog, we can actually go ahead and approve this, and we're going to say it's ready to work. Now what I can do is I'm going to come over to Bitbucket, and I'm going to, oh, Bitbucket was open. There we go. And I'm going to view my payroll repository. And I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to commit some dummy code. So what I can say is I'm going to just make an edit right here, and I will spell my name correctly, which is hard for me. And I'm going to go ahead and press commit. Here I can provide a message. So I will say committing code to SSP-58, which is the issue key of my story that I just created. And I'm going to go ahead and commit these changes. We can see what was changed, and we can also see in our pipeline that this is currently being deployed. So we're going to give this 1 second, but a lot of really cool things are happening in the background once this code actually fully deploys to production. Let's just see what the status of this is. Currently it's testing, but if I come back over to my my ticket and I refresh my screen, I can see that there has been one commit for this ticket. And if I view this commit, I can see exactly the commit key that is there, as well as the message that I submitted. So committing code to SSP-58, which is my ticket, and I can view whatever files are attached to that. So really cool visibility there. I'm sorry. If I come back to Bitbucket, we can see that our deployment is done building, and we are about to deploy this to our production system. So while I'm waiting for this, I do just want to highlight that our payroll service is actually a tier 3 service and not, it is deemed standard changes. We don't need to go through CAB. And yeah, so basically what I want to highlight here is that for a standard change, a change that we have deemed not needing approval, we can see that we've automatically created and closed the relevant change request for this deployment to our production system. So here's deployment 33 created right now on March 23rd at 10:55 p.m. or a.m. I didn't create this beforehand. It went in, found my appropriate affected service, set the change type to standard. It did notify all of the CAB approvers, but it went in and automatically marked this change as completed and done and deployed our code to production. Really, 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 really awesome efficiency gains there. So I'll happy to answer any questions on that at the end, but what I want to do is actually come back and show you a gated deployment for a normal change that does require approval. And this one's actually my favorite. So what I can do is, let's pretend there's a bug in our mobile application. Now, our mobile application is a tier 1 service, and it requires CAB to approve any changes that are being made to it. So in this case, I can say there is a bug in the mobile app, and I can go ahead and create this ticket. Add it to my sprint. And if I open this up, it's kind of the same process. I'm going to come back to my Bitbucket repository, and I'm going to switch to my mobile app repo. Here, I can make a change to the code. Now, again, this is just text, and classically, I can't ever spell my name right. And I can go ahead and submit these changes. So changes to SSP-59, and I can commit my code. But quite a few things are going to actually happen here that are a little bit different than the demo that I just showed you for a standard change. My code deployment or my commit message will actually be shown, and the commit will be displayed on the ticket itself, just like we saw for the standard change. But if I jump back to the mobile app repository and I come to my pipelines, I can see that my changes to SSP-59 are currently in progress. But this one is quite a bit more robust, and it is going to take just a second to deploy. It's currently in the build phase, but what I want to highlight here again while we wait is the fact that this is a tier 1 service and does require CAB to actually approve any changes. You may be freaking out that, oh no, you're about to deploy to production before before it was approved. But because this is a tier 1 service, automation ran and realized that and actually blocked the deployment to production. So we can see that this was paused before it actually fully got deployed, and there is a change request pending on this ticket. So automation is also currently running right now and is automatically generating that change request. So if I give it just 1 second, maybe I'll refresh my screen. There we go. we now have this option here to view that change request. So over in our IT service desk in Jira Service Management, we can see that the deployment for XPM mobile app, the change has automatically been created and the affected service, which is the mobile app, has already been selected and the change type has been marked as normal. Now, somebody could go in, fill in the implementation plan, backout plan, test plan, what have you. But what I want to show you is that the change request was automatically generated and it blocked the deployment to production until this was approved by CAB. Now I am a member of CAB, so I can actually go ahead and approve this request. And a really awesome efficiency gain here is the change is already scheduled. Everything is where it should be. And now that the request is approved and awaiting implementation, once I transition this to implement and jump back over to my mobile app repository, because of that status change right there, Bitbucket realizes that we're in the implementing status and automatically deploys our code to our production environment. So I'm going to go ahead and just give that a second. All right, that has been successfully deployed. And now if I come back to my change request that was automatically generated and refresh my screen, we'll see that once this was successfully deployed to production, the change request was transitioned to completed and marked as done. So that being said, that is how we're automating standard changes and normal changes using gated deployments, using Jira Service Management, Jira Software, Bitbucket, and automation for Jira. All of this was built completely out of the box. So, yeah. Just checking my notes here. Before we kick it back to Bijou for our fourth and final tasting, and before we announce the grand prize winner, we want to thank you so much for coming. We appreciate your time and we hope you enjoyed yourselves. For all the questions we didn't get to, we'll answer those here after our last tasting. But if you don't feel like waiting for us, we're putting our emails in the chat. Or if you would like to have a conversation about any of the Atlassian tools within your organization, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to help. Thank you very much to our colleagues, Kylie, Maggie, and Owen. It was a treat having you in the studios today.
Well, thank you guys very much. I'm going to go ahead and put those emails in the chat for everyone. So if you do have additional questions, those are there for you. We'll have a couple of more links that we'll put in there momentarily as well. But just wanted to give a big round of applause to Wade and Owen. It felt like we were very much in the Willy Wonka world. So thank you for that piece as well. All right, so this is your final chance to enter to win that grand prize. And as a reminder, our winner is going to be leaving with that 16-piece box of Bijou chocolates and treats to share with family and friends, a bottle of XPM wine. And actually, this comes from one of the wineries that we often partner with in Paso Robles region of California. We do virtual wine tastings. So your best chance to be included in this event is to be registered directly on our homepage. And I'll put that in the chat here in a moment. So sit tight. Additionally, Wade and Owen will be available for questions and we'll address those after our last chocolate tasting as well. All right, Maggie, I'm assuming you saved the best for last. So tell us all about our...
Well, this is your little square XPM chocolate.
XPM-licious?
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay. So this one is actually a 64% dark chocolate from Madagascar. So very similar to coffee and wine and how something grown in a certain region like a California Cab Sav is going to have a specific flavor profile versus a red blend, just sort of tasting like red wine. Chocolate's the same way. So since this is a 64% from Madagascar, it means all of the beans are from Madagascar and as opposed to it just being a blend from beans all over the world. And so the chocolate itself kind of has this really bright red fruit note. It almost sort of has like a cherry raspberry kind of vibe to it,
Okay.
which I always find really interesting, because for me, if I'm gonna try and taste something and tell you the difference between them, to have them kind of back to back is more interesting. And I think there's a lot of things where if you try it, you're just like, yep, that's chocolate, versus I feel like this kind of has like a secondary note. It's a little bit more
Yeah.
interesting. It's got a little bit more punch to it than just sort of what you imagine as a like cocoa forward just chocolate, which is why I
Mhm.
always really like adding it to tastings and things. Also, side note, it goes really well with red wine.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would like, it's bitter and tart and like definitely
Yeah,
what
so it
I'm
has that
wanting.
kind of like acidity to it. So it's a little bit more acid than maybe bitterness, but
Okay.
it does give off that kind of bitter, astringent sort of flavor profile, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it pairs really well with red fruits, red wines, things like that.
Oh.
Raspberries, cherries, and the like. Yeah.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Wade and Owen, what did you guys think about our final XBM-licious chocolate?
It's incredible. I also ate Owens, so I don't know what else to say.
Poor Owen, we'll have to get you more later. Well, thank you, Maggie. Really, these are spectacular. They do look like jewels. I feel like we've all been so lucky to enjoy time with you and learning
Thank you.
about your creation. So thank you so much for sharing with us. To everyone that shared your golden tickets on LinkedIn, we loved seeing your photos. So thank you for sharing. And now the moment that you all have been waiting for, we're going to announce our grand prize winner. So go ahead and drum roll on your desk, please, or wherever you may be. So our winner of our grand prize is Dennis Branco. So congratulations, Dennis. We will be reaching out to you about how to get you all of your awesome prizes. So thank you so much for entering on LinkedIn, and we'll get all those to you soon. So thank you to everyone who joined today. We hope you learned something, tasted some great things, and hope you had fun. We hope to see you again in the future. We do events like this all the time, and the best way to check those out and stay in the loop is to go to our webpage. So I'm going to put that in the chat. Also, if you want to check out our LinkedIn page, we post updates about all of those upcoming events there as well. So those are now in the chat. I dropped those for you. And also, Maggie, thank you so much again for joining us in the studio today. It's really been a treat. We're so excited for you and your new location.
Thank you.
And if you are not the grand prize winner and you still want to get your hands on some of those bijou chocolates, I'll put that link to Maggie's website here again, so you can order some of your favorites. I am probably after work today going to be getting some of those lemongrass ginger ones, because that was fantastic. All right, so we're going to take a moment here just to see if we have any questions. If anyone wants to ask a question in the Q&A, that is open at this time. So we welcome any of those questions as well. So we'll just take a moment here, look over some of those questions, give anybody time to chat if they need to.
Yeah, I can go ahead and take these, Kylie. We do have a question that came in pretty early on, which was that we mentioned the priority field is customizable. Is that by project or is that global? Well, the person that raised this question must be pretty well versed in Jira to be asking that question. So the priority field is set globally. So you do need to communicate with all teams using Jira and identify a priority that matches everybody's use case. We have a couple solutions that we've built for customers that need to change priority based on project. So if you're interested in something like that and how that could present, feel free to reach out on that. Another question is actually asking about customers. So somebody's asking, how are customers provisioned? So it depends on who your customers are. Jira Service Management can be created specifically for internal customers or external customers, external from your organization. Maybe they don't have your organization's domain. You can manage those two in separate ways. So the best practice around provisioning customers for an internal service desk is actually, if you have your Active Directory synced within Jira, provision a group from Active Directory named customers and actually list those customers out in a project role. This means whenever a customer whenever a user is onboarded to your organization, they'll automatically be added to that customer group and have access to your service desk to submit tickets day one. Customers within Jira Service Management are completely free. You do not need to license them. For external customers, you can create organizations and and group those customers together, so that whenever they raise a request, they can share those tickets with anyone in their organization, but not actually see any other organizations that you serve. Maybe you're serving a wide range of global customers. Those people raising those tickets will only be able to group and see requests that their organization has raised. So again, all completely free, and there's a lot of permissioning and privacy controls around managing external customers.
It looks like we got one about the event itself. Will we be posting this event online, or will we be doing it again? I have some colleagues that weren't able to join today, and the answer is yes, we will. We'll post it later this week, and I will put in the chat here a link to our YouTube channel. So feel free to subscribe to that, and then you'll get an update whenever we have that posted. So if you have anyone like the colleague that wasn't able to attend, you can share it that way as well. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, and we do have another one about the asset management database. So we did talk about it quite a bit, but we just didn't have the time to fully show it. So assets, as it's named, it used to be named Insight, but recently at the beginning of this year, they did rebrand. Assets is included specifically with Jira Service Management Premium licenses. And like I said, it is a full CMDB asset management tool. You can run automation for Jira within the assets database. It is a relational database. Out of the box, it does have a network discovery tool, as well as local agents that you can install on your machines to run your network discovery and import all of your assets, devices, software, users, you name it, everything you'd find in your CMDB directly into assets. And then you can reference those those assets and the users that own those assets on your tickets. So for example, if I have an issue with my laptop and I submit a request saying my laptop is broken, Jira is automatically going to look in the asset management database, pull my user's profile, find the laptop that is associated with me specifically, and present that to the agent. I might be notorious for getting chocolate in the keys and requesting, laptops left and right. So there might be an issue where they're not going to approve my next request, and I might get a talking to, but that's okay. It's worth it. So yeah, that's assets. Well, I think that might be all the questions we have. Does anybody else have any other questions?
All right, well, thank you guys so much for answering those. And if there are any questions, if you're like me, sometimes after a meeting or an event, I think about a question hours later, feel free to email us at team@xpm. We're happy to answer those questions. And we're happy to give you a few minutes back before your next meeting. So that will be the conclusion of our golden ticket for Jira Service Management event today. Thank you again so much for everyone for attending, for your kind attention. Thank you, Wade and Owen, so much for the demo. And thank you, Maggie, for joining us and sharing your special treats with us.
Thank you for eating them and being very nice and complimentary.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.